So my name is Rachel, and I'm one of the organizers of the meetup. I am the founder of a company called Zeus now. Actually, I want to say a few words about Zeus now because a couple of people just asked me, so what do you do? So we're a startup company, originally from Israel. We have, there's our panels. We've been there for the last 3.5 years. We've built a very unique platform that enables large enterprises to take whatever they build for their desktops and automatically convert it to all different channels and devices on mobile. This is why today's topic is actually very close to my heart, because this is what we do on a daily basis. We have a very unique platform, of course. It's AI-based, and we've managed to fully automate that process and to help basically enterprises get rid of their application backlog, which stands today an average of more than 50 applications. So this is what I do when I do not organize the meetup and when I'm not spamming you, don't forget to register. So thank you all for coming. We're gonna have the plan for today is that we're gonna have, I'm gonna introduce some of the statistics about mobility. Then we're going to have a nice discussion with our panelists. The way we like to have it usually in the meetups, if you've been here before, you know, is that we're not waiting for the questions at the end. So if you have something to ask, if you want to add things, just feel free to raise your hands, and we'll try to make it as live as possible, the discussion. Sometimes towards the middle of the panel, I'm gonna ask you to participate in a survey. Where you're going to have to vote what is it that you prefer and who do you think is going to win that battle of mobile web against apps. So that towards the end of the panel, we'll be able to see also the results and see how people are thinking. Two other administrative things. I usually forget to say it, but we have a hashtag, so please go and tweet and say how funny it is in here. And the second thing is that for the first time, we're going to broadcast our meetup on YouTube. So for some of the people who haven't made it, they could watch it. So I hope someone's watching somewhere. Okay, so let's start.
My wife and kids.
Your wife and kids, that's good. That was worth it just for that. Okay, so I just found some statistics about mobile web and mobile apps. And maybe I'll start with a question. I mean, for some of you here, who is really dealing with mobility on a daily basis, or filling stuff, selling them, whatever? Okay, that's quite a number. Great. So I guess you're all very much familiar with the question about what should I do? Go mobile web? Should I go and build my apps? What sort of apps should I have? Hybrid, native? We're going to talk about all of these issues today. But I found those statistics very nice. Having our product starting actually with the mobile web, it was very difficult for me to find any statistic that is saying you should invest in your mobile web more than you invest in your apps. And as you can see here, also in terms of what users are preferring to have, you'll see that 23% are asking for mobile apps and 19.6% are asking for mobile web. So not such a huge difference, but still. But also if you see the consumption basically of mobile, you'll see that apps are much more stronger than we could compare it to mobile web. So my own opinion, of course, is that some of the apps, of course, we're using very often. So we use our mails, we have our Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is that we're using. But I want to talk today with two of our panelists about what is the usage of an app, what is the usage of a mobile web, and how should a company, whether an enterprise or even a small business, should decide whether they choose to go one path or the other, or maybe have both. So I'm going to start with reading to you a little bit about our panelists. So we have the account Sean with us. That's right. So the account is actually also the one who's providing the space, so he comes from eBay. He has over 15 years of experience in managing teams and projects in various high-tech industries. Over the past 3 years, the account has been managing quality engineering, QB groups, and processes at eBay. And my first question to the account will be, what is the difference between QE and QA? Let's talk about it. In his current role, the account is the engagement and personalization QA manager, also responsible for eBay's homepage quality, automation, and continuous delivery, working from the New York office to become was named, as the company's regional innovation leader, being the program's winner several years in a row. Give him a applause. And next to the found is Eyal Aviv. Eyal is a mobile and API sales leader in IBM. In the past 4 years, Eyal has been leading the mobile sales team at IBM in North America. In his role, he is responsible for providing solutions for many customers, ranging from large financial services to small retail clients. Eyal continually works very closely with Mobile First Lab and the IBM offering management team to create and drive the product strategy, taking into account market direction and customer needs. Eyal has more than 20 years of experience in the technology space. He has been with IBM for the last 60 years, filling various positions that include leading technical and sales team in Israel and in North America. And one important note that Eyal asked me to say is that he is Pokemon Go level 18. That's really. So our
Is
today's.
there anybody here that is Pokemon Go level 20? I'm the highest one. Just want to make sure.
So don't encourage me.
Thank you. It's my son watching. And he's
Daddy's gonna get some more Pokemon for you next bit. Okay, so let's start. We have two of our panelists are today coming from different industries. Eyal is actually representing more the vendor side in terms of being the salesperson in IBM, and Yotam is actually the example of an enterprise and how an enterprise is actually dealing with its mobile strategy. So what I'm hoping for today is that you guys will really battle the question of mobile web versus mobile app. And I'll start maybe if you guys could just introduce yourself shortly and maybe tell us a little bit about your connection to mobile.
Okay, so specifically for me, the connection to mobile app or mobile web has to do with what I've been doing in the past 6 years at eBay, and specifically in the past year and a half here in New York. The homepage team is actually located here for eBay, strategically wise, although we only like put all of 120 people in this store, still homepage was strategically positioned here for eBay. And we are trying to create what we call a multi-screen experience for everyone. So wherever you're going, if you're using the browser, whichever browser it is, using mobile web, whichever phone you're using, or you're actually having the app installed on your mobile web, on your mobile phone, then you should experience the kind of similar experience and you feel familiar wherever you are. You know how to shop, you know how to sell, you understand that. So it's becoming super hard to create that when you have 15,000 employees trying to serve 170 million users per year and driving what we call GMV, like the commodity volume that we drive, which is in the tens of billions of dollars. So you can understand the challenge today, and we're trying to create that across different organizations, especially when we can talk about that later. We're actually scattered so that the mobile app team is actually important in Oregon, and the mobile web team is actually located in San Jose, and the mobile team that has to do with browser and homepage is located here. So you can see the kind of challenges with being geographically co-located. Specifically, it's been my specialty, you can say, within the three domains you mentioned, to do with engineering, specifically automation and continuous delivery, and the general quality, whether that may be from security, accessibility, internationalization, localization, whichever kind of aspect you want to cut it, dissect it, has to do with homepage. On the broader spectrum, we follow the so you can find. It's all about engagement, so homepage is actually part of engagement. So whatever experience you're engaging with eBay, may that be through collections, which is some kind of interesting experience of eBay, or through social, through guides, reviews, the homepage itself, eBay.com, right? And a bunch of similar services that serve three different screens I just mentioned, mobile app, mobile web, and desktop browsers, you should feel similar kind of flow and again, feel familiar. That's
good.
Thank you. So my experience in mobile started about, I think it was 6 years ago. IBM had probably the best application server at that time. And I was part of a team that was trying to create a mobile application server that support hybrid approach that you can basically run, develop, and create mobile applications on any platform, which is exactly what we did in the virtual application server that we had at that time. And during the process of developing the product, as part of my engagement with the research team, IBM acquired a company called Wolflight, if somebody is familiar, in 2012. So we stopped that project because Wolflight provided the benefit that we were looking for as a mobile solution for the enterprise. I stayed on the engagement team responsible for portal and making web portal mobile enabled. And when I moved to the US, that was about 4 years ago, I got the opportunity to join the mobile sales team in North America. I'm working very closely with a lot of clients. Some of them are big financial services, and some of them are small retailers that are trying to build the mobile strategy. And we're trying to provide them the best approach to do that using and not using our solutions. Sometimes surprised that we twice not use our products, but and that's basically what I'm doing in my experience with mobile. I'm a big mobile user. So most of the client of a lot of people, and I'm a client of clients, my clients. So I can provide a lot of feedback to them, also eBay client as well. But not just eBay. That's it.
So I think maybe we'll start from the very beginning. Tom, maybe you could explain a little bit what is a mobile web solution and what would be considered as an app, and maybe also talk about where do you at eBay see the places where you have to be on mobile web, and where are the parts that you say that has to be on an app.
Okay. So the boring definition of mobile web solutions, for those who like review something, that would be something like browser-based solution for users who hold for handheld devices via some kind of wireless network. That doesn't mean anything about, my laptop might be a such mobile thing, although it's not exactly handheld. Some tablets you can hold by hand, some you cannot. Some phones today you can hold by hand, might be able to hold the relative network. So is that a mobile web solution? But let me take just what we use here and just apply that. So that makes so much sense. Making sure we just decided throughout the organization that 7 inches and above is not mobile, and 7 inches below is mobile. It's not we didn't invent the wheel here, but that makes things a lot simpler. Because resolution, screen size, those things you gotta take some kind of decision and decide who belongs under this user agent or who belongs under for recognizing the device that we're dealing with and serving, who belongs under 7 and below, so they may go to mobile web, or maybe they should just install that. We should try to install that. And who belongs to 7 plus, so we should just serve them the experience of whatever browser that we use, like desktop browsers that we have. 7 units, that's something. Was that part of the question? Yeah.
Yeah, what parts of eBay are served only on mobile web, and what parts are on app? Are there any features that you see happening only here, or features that are used only on app, or the other way around?
Yes, definitely there's a difference. We can't squeeze everything into the small screen. We want that. But we need to be very careful about what we choose to put in, like let the user engage with, and does it make sense or not? Like some things, yes, we want to push, like the history of what we installed, but maybe it's like too much. Maybe the experience would be good enough. For us, since we're not like big users in the app, or on a mobile device, we're not big users of the sensors of the device. There's a big difference there. We can touch about that later on. So we're not big users of, let's say, the camera, or well, it depends. I think you're setting something you might. We're not big users of all kind of visual sensors that the device had. Maybe the GPS, we are, and maybe some gyro movements. And again, that depends if you're mobile web or not, because some sensors you can use to mobile web, some sensors again. So eventually, yes, we're squeezing a little bit of the important stuff, the important real estate that we have on the mobile devices in general, and we are very careful about picking which stuff we do put in. We have a process that we call launch bay, that actually that's some kind of review committee that reviews the kind of features and functionality that we're putting in to the, whatever screen it is, which screen you just mentioned, and then they decide, does it actually comply with the entire look and feel? Does it make sense? Is it like ready in sense of definition of done? If someone is into Agile or Scrum, they know what I mean there. And does it make sense from the business perspective? Have we had our homework done? Have we done our homework with regards to the user experience, what they're looking for, what they need, and money revenue side, and then we deliver if they approve. So there's that is the community, that is how we actually make sure that the flow is consistent.
But are there any differences? Because you talked about a few screens, but there's a different usage of having an app and the different usage of having a mobile web. I mean, do you ever come to a conclusion saying we're going to take that off the mobile web, we're just going to keep it on the app? Is that something that you come up in a process like that?
So yes, specifically not my decision. It's more like a product management decision, and they usually base that on tracking. That's what we have. So we use social media generally, but if you use Google Analytics or whatever kind of service you have, we are using whatever information we can get and whatever money generating machines that we know that we're having to push and change whatever the screen should look like. Some stuff you can do on mobile web, some stuff you should do on app, and vice versa. That's how we put it.
So that actually leads me out to the next question. So you as a vendor, because you said you're meeting with clients, eBay is a client, how would you recommend a client like eBay on its mobile strategy? I mean, when you're going to your clients selling IBM products, are you more in favor of apps? Are you telling them they have to go mobile web? What are the things you're looking at together with a client?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I just want to answer the previous question too. Regarding the definition of mobile web and mobile app, and I'll try to explain what we're doing internally also in IBM in that space from enterprise perspective, not just providing a strategy advice. Basically, the definition is pretty simple, right? Mobile web, you just access through web browser on a mobile device to a website that probably is mobile enabled, right? It maybe use responsive design technology or any other adaptive design to provide a better interface to your browser. And mobile app is something that you go and download from the app store. Could be great, but also could be terrible, right? It depends how you do it and how you develop it. And that brings me to the next phase, and this is something that we really discussed on the strategy. Before you even take a decision to do mobile web or mobile app, God to make sure you understand the business objectives. Right? Who's your client? What is the user experience that you want to provide? What is the UI that you want to use? What are the features that you want to give them? How much do you want to engage with your client? Is that you want a full engagement? You want just limited engagement? You want no engagement, right? No engagement, for example, just don't do mobile at all, right? This is, and you'll see there's I'm familiar with few healthcare companies in North America that do not have mobile application. And you log in or try to access through a mobile device to the website, it's almost not even mobile web enabled. Why? Because probably they didn't see or they still don't see the value of mobile devices and mobile access. But we see a lot of the transition. And then the question is coming, what do I do? Is that mobile web or mobile app? Tell you what we do in terms of that. So in IBM, most of our enterprise access is done all through a desktop browser or mobile app. In our internal app store, we have about 250 mobile applications. We're definitely not using all of them. Maybe each employee use maybe 5 to 10, but we use different mobile applications, right? I'm using the 10 that I'm using, somebody else in different role has other 10 that he's using for his daily job. But we have mobile applications that I don't think we could ever do it through a mobile web, right? We have this, probably our most users mobile application is the one that we do conference calls. There's no option that we could do it through a mobile web. It will be too complicated for us to even access the information that we need. And for a mobile app, it takes me less than 10 seconds to access a conference call, right? Which is, that simplified my experience as a user, and I generate a lot of value with single app that we even didn't invest in a lot in UI, right? So it's not, I see a lot of comparison between mobile web versus mobile app, regardless the UI and UX experience and performance and stuff like that. Sometimes it's more about the value that is specifically the app is providing or the mobile web is providing for a specific use case. So I think first thing that you got to do is understand the objectives and what value the client are going to get from either mobile app or mobile web. Then we are getting into the platform, right? If you want to go through mobile app, you got to make sure that you provide a platform that supports something that you didn't have to challenge before, right? Because when you do mobile app, there's new operating systems, especially in Android. They come up with new version of the operating system every other month. iOS, again, provide all new updates. You need to make sure that your mobile app supports new operating system. Somebody's also using Windows. Got to make Windows Phone. Got to make sure that you have an app that supports all platforms. Right? There's a lot of challenges that on the web you will never. Web, you got to make sure that you're consistent with Firefox, Safari, and somebody's still using Internet Explorer, right? And Chrome. But it's much easier to do than manage mobile applications. So there's a lot of challenges, and you got to make sure that you choose the right platform to support these challenges. Even if you do it yourself, you got to make sure that you address those aspects. And that's probably the second stage after you understand your audience and the objectives and the use cases. Then you got to make sure that you choose the right platform to enable what you want to achieve. And probably we'll touch it later on if what's going to stay mobile web or mobile app. But I think the toughest thing in the the world is trying to predict the future. Right? And you have to do that. Probably who's not here. Do something else. But it's easier to be prepared for the future. Right? No matter what's going to happen, you got to make sure that you do the right thing to be prepared. Because if mobile app's going to stay, mobile app web will disappear. You got to be ready for that, and vice versa. You got to be ready that mobile app. I read an article 2 days ago that Ken shared on LinkedIn that mobile app will die soon, right? And I was convinced, right? And I said, wow, this is, it's a very good article. Then I went and read another article that says, mobile web is going to die. Everything is going to be mobile app. And I was also convinced. I said, wow, that's just, great arguments against each other and what they can, and who's right and who's wrong. So then I can, then you back up and say, okay, I don't know who's going to win, right? But I got to be ready either way.
So I think it's a good thing about that struggle, and we even put it on our as a title of our meetup. Is it a battle, or is it something that we'll just have to see how we work it out together? And going back to what you said about how difficult it is, what's good for you, how should you look into it? I think it's going to be interesting to talk about what are the difficulties of both. I mean, we have a lot of people dealing with mobility here, and I think we all know what a big pain that is. It's a very fast-changing industry, and I agree that working with the app could be even more frustrating in that case. But even mobile web, if you want to keep up to date with your mobile web experience, you can't just sit there and say, okay, everything looks okay. There's the experience, there's the expectations of the users, there is the design, right? I mean, we were just looking today at an old application, and the buttons had a rounded corner. And I was telling Veronica, oh my God, that's like so 90s, right? I mean, who would use rounded corners, okay? And so even those stuff, you guys have rounded corners, come on, get rid of it, okay? So, I mean, even those little things, and I think, Yutam, maybe you can share from your experience, and I just want to share that we have both Yutam and Jan here as private people. They are telling us from their experience, their professional experience from different places. They're not selling their stuff, they're not trying to promote anything, but I do want to take advantage of your experience and understand what are the difficulties that you are facing today and what has changed. I mean, has there been a change? I mean, have you guys started with apps and then moved to the mobile web? Have you had mobile web and then you moved to the apps and you started it all together? Just share a little bit about the bad things.
Okay, there's so many.
Oh, until 8:30.
Okay, so actually, eBay was one. First, I'll start with the end part of the question. That's a harder question. So eBay actually was the first one, the e-commerce that I know of, what we read about that actually then, that moved into the mobile world. I'm not saying app or anywhere, as we call it, mobile anyway. Moving to the mobile world and kind of won the game there against competitors, not saying anyone, any
Starting
names.
with A.
Starting with A, look at Intel. So, yeah, they do a pretty So, yeah, so they won the battle in that way, and they were first movers in that regard. I think it helped, because they were like, breaking ground with it. And they had huge progress. Right now, I just checked, there's like 328 million downloads that the eBay apps have, or ever since they started. Should be like 6, maybe 7 years ago. The funny thing, by the way, speaking of the idea that you presented, it actually started as an innovation. Like a small group of people just decided, let's do that. That's fun. I mean, it's fun to learn. It could be good for eBay. They just, released some kind of an app, start with an app, and then they decided to throw the bets on that, and then make it like corporate and proper. And we can see today, by the way, that both was bearing fruit, still bearing fruit, because 58% of our entire sales at eBay are touched by mobile. It doesn't mean they ended on mobile, but some kind of mobile activity from the user was there. And that's a big number. It wasn't that way like 2 years ago. Actually, a year ago exactly, something turned, and we saw that mobile was getting more traction than the desktop application. So that's an interesting tipping point for us. And good to see that trend because we need to continue to bet on that. And we're not putting mobile web aside, speaking of two differences on the topic. We're just continuing to develop with having mobile web in our minds and releasing those features, trying to make it as similar as possible so that there is a feature on app. We'll also have on that web. Other difficulties, let's talk about the difficulties. There's tons, I just mentioned, from functional stuff that you can and cannot do. So we just found out through another innovation we were trying to do, one of the teammates that I have. You could access by JavaScript, you can actually access the accelerometer in your device. By the way, it changes from iOS to Android, surprisingly, obviously. But you can access some visual sensors, or the gyro. You can access that with JavaScript. Obviously, you can do a whole bunch of things on that. That's one thing, just to mention. You could possibly gain lots of information about what device model, iOS or OS version, the media that is being supported on the device, a bunch of stuff that's installed on the device by being an app. Obviously, you cannot get all this information. Again, there's some services that will give you more information about your device that you're hitting. They cost some money, I guess, like maybe Atlas or something. But that's costly. It doesn't give you everything, obviously, about the device that's being addressing your servers. That's like typically the iceberg from the functional side. Accessibility is a whole new ballgame there. We are very big in accessibility. We want all people to be able to be on the eBay shop if they want, or just browse through stuff or sell stuff. And there's a lot of effort that we put in accessibility. We are developing CAT 2, which means that the high standard of accessibility, being proud of it, and we have accessibility bugs or tweaks or features that we're trying to add every time we're adding a new feature to make sure it's there. And we have like our own integration jobs that run Jenkins that runs the Jenkins run that actually test it for adherence to that new CAT 2 version. So just a few, it's very hard to do on app, easier to do on mobile web because you've done it on the browser. So it's so easy to pull some of your stuff, some of your automation work, the quality work, if I mentioned my part job, and import it from browser, whichever browser it is, to Android. So hard to do on the app. Obviously, you need some kind of admin robotic, different types of solutions, frameworks that you need to use. You need to do that there. And I think that one of the overlooked kind of challenges is actually the quality size, because people go towards like the development, right? And then we go on that, and there's different skill sets, and there's different servers and different timeouts, or different time responses that people expect from M-Web versus app. But nobody thinks about, okay, I'm going to make sure that this actually works. There's some forgiveness that people are willing to give for M-Web, and there's some forgiveness that the browser itself is willing to absorb through the JavaScript or HTML that the app does not absorb. Right? You will crash. We've seen crashes on apps that we've never seen in not specifically eBay. People, right? Users that we're not seeing on M-Web. There's a good reason for it. The browser themselves are designed to be, forgiving. The apps are less, especially we have such a huge matrix of stuff to test or to run on or to support, and then you just break it, right? And the user is giving a security engine. So we've seen even IS that problem. Those 2 weeks ago, right? Where there's a user that actually was able to hack any iPhone before, so they could release the patch.
Did you ever have a feature that you enabled on the web solution and then tried to have it also on the app and it just didn't work? And you just gave out on it?
Not that I can recall, nothing like that. Maybe it was another way, like the app didn't work. I didn't work on the web, right? solution, and also an technical advisor for an NPO for light control or that are using native. And it's such a different, different skill set, different APIs, different SDKs that they need to use. Even the React responsiveness to the screen, you don't know about that, right? You want the screen to be responsive. If you're narrowing down the screen, because sometimes you need to serve on small screens, you want the image and the text to look like it makes sense. You don't want it to wrap, you don't want it to wrap. And all of a sudden you reveal that the React that we use, right? We're using React.js or React Native, again, different, depending if you're hybrid or serving mobile web or just going native. All of a sudden you understand that it's a totally different ballgame. It's a totally different code. You need to support it differently. Some people know this, but don't know about it. You can't develop on another platform. And it just becomes, hey, you need to support tons of configurations and tons of devices and models and OS versions. Then you're into a whole new ballgame, and you gotta use some, maybe cloud testing. You gotta use your own math perhaps. You need to go.
So yeah, it seems like your Tom is keeping his company safe, but you're working with other companies. So maybe you could share a little bit about some clients that you work with and you recommended to start with a mobile web or the other way around, start with an app and you've seen them crashing and not really succeeding, or maybe having difficulties but still managing to go out with or even doing that shift from app to mobile web or the other way around. I mean, do you see clients actually struggling with getting their mobile out there?
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's amazing. So when you reach out to a client and try to advise that it's better for you to do a mobile app, so they will come with different objections, right? Which you can definitely understand. Why when you do a mobile app, you're losing the control on the user, right? The user can upgrade your operating system whenever he wants, right? Sometimes I get an email to IBM, don't upgrade to version 9.5 because we don't have few apps that support it. Are you kidding me? I mean, if eBay would send me an email like that, I would never use on their mobile application. That things do not exist on mobile web, right? Mobile web, it's easy. It's much easier to control the user behavior and the user experience. When you do a mobile app and there is a fix that you need to provide, then you gotta publish that through the actual cycle. And sometimes in Apple, it takes 2 weeks until you can actually get that fix to your users, right? And that's also complicated in mobile web. You don't really have to make your user experience that. But when you go on the mobile web approach, then there's other objections that you don't have the push notification, the full engagement that you're trying to provide to your user, the contextual information and data based on location, which is much easier to do when you have a mobile app that uses all the device capabilities offline, synchronization, and all this stuff that it's much harder to implement when you use mobile web. So I think you gotta make sure you analyze the right use case. Make sure you understand, and sometimes, by the way, use case can look obvious to you that mobile web is the right approach, but that's not what your users are expecting, because they would expect to get it on a mobile app. And I'll take myself for example. I'm a big user of Bloomberg mobile app. I never access to the mobile app, ever. But I know people that never use the mobile app and they only access to the mobile web, right? And so Bloomberg has to be ready for both users and both experiences. And when they build a strategy, they need to make sure they understand there are different users with different favors to specific use case. And this is something that I see that a lot of our clients are missing. I was in a meeting with, I won't mention the name of the company, but it started with a C, and they create cameras. Yeah, and they had a mobile app with terrible experience. We have a tool that can run some analysis that can tell you what users are telling about your mobile app. And we were sitting with the vice president of marketing, and then one of the developers said, yeah, but the only people that put bad response on the App Store are probably 5 to 10% for our customers. The one that really think that our app are great, they're not putting any response, right? They don't put good response for the app. And so you don't have to be, take it into consideration. And then she said, we in this company see Create Cameras cares about our 5% of these customers. Exactly as we care about the 95% who likes our app. And that's the same approach that you have in mobile web and mobile application. You gotta make sure you analyze the use cases. And I think from a strategy point of view, this is probably the most important part. Make sure you understand what you want to achieve and who's your target audience. And based on that, decide if you want to do either a mobile application or mobile web, and you want to do both with both, or even you choose one youth-based challenges, right? None of them are 100% secure, 100% no bag, 100% control. Each has pros and cons, but you need to make sure that you limit that based on the use case and based on your target audience. I know somebody here, I'm sorry that I used again, but somebody here playing Pokemon Go. Think about playing Pokemon Go on mobile web, right? It's not even, nobody would use that, right? 8 years ago, it was I know somebody here used to use Second Life. You remember that? It was great idea, terrible user experience. It was so slow. I mean, it could kill you, right? So if you don't create the experience that the user is expecting, then no matter what you're going to choose, you have terrible results, and vice versa.
So assuming that probably most of the enterprises are convinced that they have to go, or they have to be mobile, whether it's a mobile web or as a downloadable app. Let's say that they're going to start with, and I know we tend to think that everyone's already mobile, but we do encounter a lot of enterprises and other companies that are not mobile at all, or are just very limited on mobile. But let's take one scenario. Let's say that a client would want to go mobile web. Okay, what recommendation would you have, or what are you using at eBay? What do you recommend your client? Because also when you think about mobile web, you have different options, right? You could run responsive, you could run adaptive, so you could build a whole different experience for your mobile web. Or you could try and fix it, to have half and a half or anything. How are you acting with your mobile web presence? And what are your solutions today at IBM to create the best mobile web experience? And maybe I'll just stop here so we'll have the results. We thought it would make sense I don't know how much those guys are convincing you one way or the other, but we thought it would make sense to try and run a poll and see. Yep, other way around. Okay. So just run a poll and see what do you think is going to work. We put up 3 questions. Right now, you're going to get an email through the meetup email spamming thing that I use,
Meetup spam.
right? And you're gonna have a link. You don't have a link, so I created a shorter version of that. And the question is, if you were to plan your company's mobile strategy, you would start with web and then the options. When building your mobile web, you would choose, and then when building your mobile app, you would prefer to. And the last two questions are actually the questions that we're going to talk about right now, and that's the how to build your mobile web, how to build your mobile app. So you tell me where to start, maybe telling us.
Okay. It's just
Yeah. First thing that we are telling our customers to do when they choose mobile web is do design, right? Because it's more critical in mobile web than it's important also in mobile app. But mobile app usually the UI and UX is much easier to implement for mobile than taking a web approach and implement that for mobile device. So I think design thinking is something that is very important, and that probably would be our first advice. Second is you gotta choose what your customer experience, not the UI, your customer experience would be what data you're gonna give your client through a mobile device, which is limited screen in most cases, that will get them faster to do what they used to do through regular web application. That's second. And third is a little bit related to the backend. You gotta make sure that your backend information are mobile enabled and ready for many more transactions than you probably familiar through a web application or even a regular desktop application. Yeah, so that's probably the three advices when we are talking to our clients to create a web mobile application.
So it's not going to be a response, but pure responsive. It's going to be like building it from scratch, just thinking about the user experience and what my clients have when they browser and get to my
I think responsive is probably the obvious, right? This is prerequisite. I mean, you cannot be in a situation with so many devices right now that customers are holding, especially if you're not an iOS or an Apple fan, and you use Android. The responsive design and the schemes that you create to mobile applications become much more important than a regular web application. So that's definitely something that is kind of right now, it's prerequisite. Do not let the user access a mobile web that it doesn't see all the information that it's supposed to see. Right? And if that's the situation, you probably fail. I don't know if in your strategy, but definitely in the implementation.
Is it the same in your case then? Is that how you do your processes of deciding what stays in and what goes out?
So there's a nice exercise that I've seen Steve Jobs talking about when you're designing a product, mobile app, or it says, he used to say, take out whatever you can from your product and make it as thin as possible until the next stuff that you take out is no longer your product. So it's like it lost some critical function or something like, like pivotal thing in its product. Then okay, this is where you need to stop. And that's a great exercise, I think, for anyone to do, even if they're like in the middle of some kind of a rush, agile sprint number 20, where I'd say go ahead and stop after a couple of months or years and do that from scratch. You don't need to redesign. You feel that you should redesign this. There's so much cluttering that I can see when you're using like whatever. Just do that. It's a good exercise. And then you take everything that you can. Let's say you were Facebook, right? And you have so much in the feed. I mean, so much just Facebook.com And they had to have, I mean, at some point, take away whatever they could to create an app, or even a mobile app, doesn't matter. And think what is so basic for the users that they must have for purpose of sharing something that happened, right? But then they start with that basic stuff, that baseline, then they grow from it. What is making more money? Maybe that's the next question. What are users like or must have? All those basic stuff. And then they go from there. But then you know what is most basic. And there's something that we said, I talked about responsiveness design, but there's some like anti-pattern that I think everyone who develops a responsive solution, mobile web or app, or anything, it needs to think about that following thing. When you do responsive design, so okay, let's say you've done that, and then your page responds perfectly well for minimizing, extending, extracting, whatever, doing all those things that you have with different kind of devices and sizes. But take care of one thing. Is the page reloading whenever you're resizing? Okay, so it's resizing well, it's doing it right, but is it reloading? Why do you need to reload? That's what it's called responsive design, but then it's not very nice for the user side, and then you might lose your audience, right? So that's one thing to think of. Is it really responsive all the way without reloading? And you would really need to reload or load something again from your servers in order to serve them the smaller image. Or have you done that in the background in some kind of asynchronized way so that you don't need to wait, the user doesn't need to wait for the next image to get smaller and smaller.
But eBay's website is not responsive, right? It's not responsive design, it's a whole different.
It is.
It is? No, I'm really asking. I didn't know.
Yeah,
Okay.
it is.
Because
You could do better. We're actually.
Oh, no, not me. I'm just meaning in terms of, are you using responsive design or are you building the mobile web separately?
We're building separately, yes, but again, I mean, you have, so let's say 8-inch, 9-inch, okay, screens, whatever, or just the resolution size, and then you minimize it on a big screen. Again, it needs to be responsive, and you're still staying on the same screen, right? Or maybe you've done the same just on the 7 minus. That's why I said 8, 9, that's over 7. But then it needs to be right. It is responsive, and we're taking good care of it, and we're even going to tweak it up so we wouldn't reload everything and waste more time or bandwidth. Yeah, we take care of that, and we're not even, but when we have our own open source framework that we use called Marco, that was like invented here, not here in New York specifically, that we use for our responsive design for mobile apps, for mobile apps. So, it's called Marco.
So I think the
MARKO.
just reminding you that you can all ask questions, so do that. And vote. Has anyone had problems with getting into the survey and voting? Okay, so the link was just resent. Everything worked.
The
Anyone
link in the
voted?
email
Fine.
didn't work. The link in the email didn't work, but this one works.
Oh,
Yeah, actually, same.
okay, so you should be receiving a second email with us. Acknowledge you. So I guess the second question will be, so we talked about the mobile web, but now let's talk about the mobile apps, because I think the struggle there is even bigger on how you build your mobile app. And we have the question of hybrid versus native, and that's another battle that still keeps on being there. Although we see a huge shift of even large companies such as eBay and a competitor that are actually moving towards the hybrid solution. So yeah, from a vendor point of view, and I don't know if you guys know, but IBM had a partnership with Apple actually, where IBM were building native apps that had to be purely native, right? Is that
Purely
correct?
native iOS only.
Correct. But on the other hand, IBM has platforms and tools that enable to build also the hybrid. So I know a little bit about what AI think about native and hybrid, but maybe you can share a little bit from the IBM point of view. What is the official point of view at IBM? Should you go on the hybrid or should you go on the native?
Well, it depends on which division in IBM you are. If you are part of the I, then the IBM, or B or M. But I'll try to explain the strategy, the way we see it, and what we are trying to enable our clients to do. So when IBM acquired Worldline in 2012, we were trying to force the market to implement the hybrid approach. That was 4 years ago, right? And not that we were trying just to tell them hybrid is the best way to go, we also told them which tool to use to develop hybrid mobile application, which was our studio. There are probably a lot of developers who like that approach and use that, but there are other developers that have said, no way, we like the tools that we're using and we want to keep using them. And if your platform cannot support that tool, we're not going to use the platform. So we understood that very quickly, and in addition to that, we saw, especially with Apple and also Google, that they're more forcing into the full native mobile applications, especially because of the user experience that people like more than hybrid 4 years ago, remember? So what we did, we actually gave all developers, doesn't matter which tool you're using, to leverage our mobile capabilities. And people could do hybrid, people could do native, people could do both, right? Mix of hybrid and native in the same mobile application. Then came July 15, 2014. We are 2016 now? 14.
The whole year.
Yeah. The partnership with Apple. And those of you who knows Apple, it's got to be Apple, right? It's not
It's not an option.
yeah, it's not an option to even integrate something else, which a lot of people like. 80% don't like that. 20% do, but 20% really like that, right? And it's important for Apple. And what they were trying to do, they're trying to take that approach and enable that into the enterprise. So we partnered with them and we started to create only native iOS mobile applications for, again, specific use cases within the enterprise. So clients will basically purchase iPads or even iPhones, and we'll be able to download these mobile applications and do a lot of the processes that were already exist in web application or desktop application into a native iOS mobile device. And we were pretty successful with that approach, but we always kept in parallel what we call the custom approach, that would still let developers that want to create new mobile applications to be able to do that hybrid, native, or mobile web. I think, if I'm not wrong, most of our clients today still doing hybrid. And hybrid, by the way, become much better than it used to be 4 years ago. Right? And one of the reasons for that, who's holding the phone that he bought 4 years ago? Somebody here has a phone that he bought 4 years ago? No. 3 years ago?
So it's you.
It's you, right? 2 years ago? 2 years ago. Those of you who are still holding iPhone 6, or even iPhone 5X, right? The CPU is much stronger on the device. So hybrid and HTML5 got approved, and all the framework, jQuery, AngularJS, that support hybrid mobile applications become very much more mature, that you almost will not recognize if an app is purely native or hybrid. Both from UI perspective and from performance. If you would try that 4 years ago, you would immediately notice if it's native or hybrid, right? And I think hybrid is getting momentum, not just in the enterprise for the B2B use cases, also on the consumer. And we see more and more clients doing hybrid. But still, you probably would see a lot of clients doing native. And there are two groups, iOS, Java, that doing both. Some of them have also .NET that support Windows Mobile. Sometimes even 3 different groups within organizations that develop the same mobile application.
I think in a lot of those cases, the question of ROI is rising very fast. How is it at your case? I know you're not from the app group, but maybe you could share a little bit of it. Did you have that shift? Have you started? I guess you did started as a native. Do you know when that shift happened to hybrid? And I guess why we don't know, but
When exactly, I'm not sure, but I do know that about a year and a half ago, we just redesigned our app almost from scratch. Was it hybrid before? I'm not sure, but it's definitely hybrid in the past year and a half. And it's been hybrid ever since in developing and making release, I think exactly 6 or 7 versions since then, major versions, I mean. And it's still being gone on and quite strongly, and I think there's like a release coming out soon, any day. And we have the benefit of having hybrid serving us in the sense of having a service behind scenes on the back end, RESTful service, that actually serves every kind of screen I just mentioned before, whether it's anywhere, the desktop browser, or the app. And it's the same service that provides you recognizing, or even when it doesn't, provides you the same kind of or the same kind of data that gives you eventually what you see on the home screen. So that is where we saw some commonalities, and that's how you're trying to, that is how we're trying to create the same kind of data exposure for the users, wherever screen they're coming from. Yeah, that's to answer the question. But one of the things you mentioned is that like 250 apps, you said?
Yeah.
I found 20 something.
Oh, internally.
Internally. Okay. So externally, I found like over 20. You know, people and stuff.
Yeah.
I didn't check it out. So we actually had that a couple of years ago. We had, exactly 2.5 years ago, we had several apps, one for motors, one for fashion, one for what's called reservation, a bunch of apps, one for the seller, one for the buyer. We had not one major app. Almost no exceptions. Those exceptions are actually not marketplace. They're what called classifieds, which is like a coincidence, you know. So they're local, mostly like in Germany or like other fun locations. And we have decided to just control one because managing that portfolio for so many different users is just a pain. And managing and maintaining that, the effort, the engineering effort, the business efforts is just crazy, right? Just like you said, I think there's sometimes 2 apps for the same division doing almost the same thing with a small delta, I guess. Right? So we're trying to pull away from that. Although we're like in different sectors, and trying to serve different customers today. That's important. Difference to understand, but it definitely helped us focus our business and definitely helped us to be similar to other students that we have.
I think this is 2 of the things that you just said is changing trends that we've been seeing over the last couple of years. So actually, when we started the company, there wasn't even the name responsive. So we didn't even We didn't have even the possibility to explain what is it that the tool is doing. It's like, we are mirroring, we are showing it in a different way, and then the word responsive came, and we were like, oh, thank God, now everyone knows what we're saying. But then again, I think even I had that discussion with you a long time ago, and I was like, you could have that multi-screen possibility that, your users, they get to your smartphone and they know where they are because they did it already on the tablet and on the app, they all look the same. And you were like, no, we need different users for different devices, So that has really shifted, and we see it. We see it with eBay, we see it with Amazon, we see it with so many other, a lot in retail, so retail always a little bit more advanced. So for us, we don't have to convince a lot of people now. So that's the first shift. And second shift is also the usage of library, right? So it's not a bad word. It doesn't tell that you are not investing because you're using library, right? So I think those are two changes, those are two shifts that really happened over the last couple of years that really also took off the burden from those large enterprises to provide to their clients with what they need. So instead of going and investing in 3 different groups of developers that have to do also Windows Phone because 2 or 3 people in the company are using it, you can focus your efforts in one place. And I think that's a great shift, and that's a great place to go. And I think that leads me to my last question before we'll open it to maybe some questions from the audience is, do you think we're going to get into a world where there's no mobile apps, where there's no mobile web at all? And how would that work? How would that world look like? And also, together with this, we talked a lot about the experience and how important it is, or what a better experience I get when I use the native as opposed to 4 years ago hybrid. And we specifically just launched a voice control feature. So basically, all of our clients are now capable of having this Siri-like intelligent assistant talk to you instead of you looking at the app and trying to find whatever you want to. You just look at it and, okay, find me this, do me that, transfer money there. I don't even see the app. So where do you see that world going? Is that app, web, UI experience is relevant? Are we going to use mobile web apps in the future? That was a tough one.
So I think browsers, and this is very it's my opinion, right? I think browsers are here to stay. We've seen them for more than a decade, and they have deeper roots. And wherever they shift, wherever the browsers make it more smart, being smarter, because the machine allows it to, even if you want to include clients, that's not again with the matter of clients or system. And we still see that there is so much strength, and there's so much also effort and money being put into those 3-4 major browsers. By the way, Mozilla just released a very big advanced version of their browser. It's supposed to be 200-300% faster than what they have, which is way faster than you Chrome. That's seriously fast. So, we still see lots of money being put into those efforts. So yes, I think mobile web is here to stay. Question maybe that we should ask is, our desktops are here to stay. That's right. Maybe that's a better question. Like an easier answer to be asked.
Which would not be an easier question 5 years ago, right?
That's true. That's true. So something
5 years ago, if somebody would ask about client server versus web, most of the people say, yeah, client server are here to stay. Who's using Gmail on client server, right? But who's using Hotmail? Guy with free.
So yeah, that's definitely a trend that we see here. You know what? We can just see the numbers from the business side. How many devices, mobile devices are being sold versus how many tablets are being sold, not tablets, desktops and laptops are being sold every year. And we see the lateral group getting less and less numbers, while handheld devices are just rising every year, talking to previous year. So that's one thing to notice. That's one trend to notice, because that will dictate some numbers and future trends. With regards to the app, there's one thing that I'm seeing. I think Internet of Things is dictating a new kind of segment that will change the face of the apps. So apps are continuing. Also, with you started with the right question: what is mobile? What is mobile? Right? And so, according to the definition, those wearables are not actually mobile web. Right? Not necessarily. I mean, there's exceptions. We saw Pebble, then we saw the G-Show, whatever the yellow, the Samsung, I don't know, the Samsung phone and the iWatch, and there's a bunch of great watches out there in the market. And there's additional wearables, Google Glass or whatever they can come up with next. And those are not exactly apps. Maybe we can install all these apps in them, but they're different apps. So maybe the definition of the apps now needs to also shift. It's not the same technology. And there's even smaller limitations. Now, to do that exercise that Steve Jobs used to do, what is left out of Facebook or even eBay on a watch? And by the way, eBay does have a small version for smartwatches. So there's some trend there that's worth noticing that because that will dictate some changes about mobile web.
Yeah, I think I have a different answer, and it's my opinion, right? It's not idea.
Finally, you're struggling. Come on, it's battle.
Yeah. No, I don't think mobile web will stay, right? I honestly think that 5 years from today, it will be rare that people will use browser. But I don't think mobile application will stay the same as they are today. That's what will change too. I think we will see more pros of getting contextual information based on user preferences, and you'll get kind of app on demand, right? It's based on what you do and the location that you are going to, based on that, get the relevant data through kind of a user interface, like maybe augmented reality, not specifically mobile applications or mobile web. As long as more and more users will move to mobile devices, less and less we will see more web applications. And the reason we are creating mobile web is because of the web applications, right? So if we will see less web application, we'll see less mobile web. So slowly, I think it will disappear as the client server disappearing from our desktops today, unless you're still holding AS400 and ID makers. But and they're to stay. But that's probably the only place that will still see client server application. So I honestly believe, but again, this is only my belief plus other people in Nigeria.
So I've just seen that we've passed our time, past our bedtime,
Can I
right?
answer it though? Because he's putting like.
Oh, we're gonna fight him after that.
I'm wondering who's.
How can you ask for a bottle and you put two in your head? You just, that's what we do. We make out the bottle, we go to sleep.
But I want to give the audience the options to just to ask a few questions, and then let's start with poor guy with a 3 years old phone.
So one interesting thing, like personally, I don't see any reason why the mobile web and the mobile app should be the competitor, because we have a mobile device and we want to go browse some website, and that has to be responsive or should be something viewable from the mobile app. Sorry, the mobile device. So the mobile app, so regarding the mobile app, so one of the things when my company or we were deciding to build mobile app for a particular purpose, so the one confusion or one thing that we did wrong at the beginning, we built a mobile app which provides everything we are providing on our web. So that actually, we actually respect ourselves, like, I mean, what's going on? Like, I mean, what we are doing. We're building the same thing in the two different places, and we are managing two different teams to do the same thing. And we are changing our business. We're a startup, and we are changing too fast. So then we realized, okay, how about if we create an app that serves particular purpose? So then we came up with a very specific app, which is called, I'm from Lesup, so it's called Lesup Connect. So which is for the particular, like for example, our paying customer suppliers, the mills. Sorry, I mean, I'm giving probably a lot of, sorry, it's my first thing that I'm saying and talking. So what we did, like for the target audience, our supplier, they were the milking cow, like those who are paying us. So particularly for them, we built an app. They can take it to the trade fair, and they can ask, hey, you're a nice guy. I really like your, they're a fashion designer because this is their target audience. So hey, it's nice to meet you. So can I add you on my app? Okay, it's nice meeting. I will keep in touch with you. So if they come up with the new emails, new fabrics, new fabric stuff, they send those things over the mobile app. So that's how we partitioned it. Like we are we had an app which had everything. Then we started breaking it down and making it a small channel and very specific features. So it could be a tool. So what I find it very hard and why I constantly download app and delete them, the main reason is like most of the app are serving the same. Like for example, I use Seamless a lot. I think most of the audience here. So like when I use the app, when I download the mobile app, and on an rush, I try to check out my previous order history, so I can pick I can press an order right away from there. Then it was started loading through the internet and all the things it was doing. Then I felt like, okay, why don't I use the web browser? That seems faster than the mobile app. Then right away at that moment, I delete the Seamless app. So like, this is just my opinion and question at the same time. Like, is it a competition, or this is complementing each other and then absolutely necessary? So that's it. Thank you.
So it was a question?
Whether there is.
So I tell you, first of all, I totally agree with you. And I think from my experience, every time I go through a mobile web, and I read an article, in the middle of the article they say, if you want to continue download the mobile app, I know there's no value in the mobile app. Because I could do the same using mobile web. There's no really reason. If you want to do mobile app to mobile web interface, you gotta provide value to your client in addition to what you have on the mobile web. If you don't gonna do that, as you said, you don't need to replicate what you do in web, or we used to call it in the web, you don't need to create iframe, right? There's no value in iframe. There's no value in mobile app if it represents the same as mobile web. But if you add more capabilities to that, through push notification, location services, offline synchronization, all this stuff that may add value to your client in the use case, then they probably will download the mobile app, and if it's good, they will continue to use it. And if it's not, they will delete it, which is, that's the game, right? That's part of the game that you gotta make sure you understand that your users are also playing. So you gotta make sure you're consistent with the value and don't replicate the same, because they will not download the app, as you said.
Thank you.
I just want to add one more thing to it. If we thought that it's very difficult for enterprises to build the best user experience app in order to, make their clients happy, today they have to build the best experience app and they have to build the best experience mobile web. Because as you can see also in the call, which is, I think it's amazing, okay? First of all, it's amazing because 27 people actually answered the call, so I'm very happy. But I think it's amazing because you still see that for some people, starting from a mobile web would make more sense. And I guess that some of those decisions are coming also from our expectations as users, or what we prefer, our preparations. And for the other 50%, come on, it's a Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump thing here, okay?
We can make mobile web stronger again.
Yeah. So the other 50%, almost 50%, is still looking into apps. So actually, now companies are screwed, okay? It's not enough to have the best performance on my eBay app, right? I need to have the best performance on my mobile web because I don't download eBay app. I want to use that mobile web, but maybe my friend or my husband would just use that app. So that whole thing is just making everything much more complex for those companies. So that's, the competition is there, and it's not because the companies are choosing it, it's because that's what their users are bringing. So we have one.
Can I just add one more thing? So value is key. So value is key here to your question. But there's always something that companies sometimes do, and that's taking away, in a way, value, which is annoy the users. So I'm not sure who of you guys are using YouTube as an app and who's using it on mobile web. There's a big difference. Have you tried using YouTube on mobile web? Most of you won't use it as an app. Do you know the big advantage of YouTube on mobile web? When you close the app, just close the screen, I mean,
You could still have
you can still hear it. You don't need to waste your battery or your screen, whatever. You can still hear the music. And that's the whole purpose of YouTube, to stream music. And then they take away, it used to work like that. And then they take away that
pay
value.
for that on the app right now.
Right, and that's the second annoying thing. Whenever you open the new YouTube app, they actually bombard you with that notification saying now or later that you'll pay for that, or the red YouTube, whatever. They have like two versions, right? Now that you can pay for and not the one that you don't need to pay for. So they, first of all, you need to have another click there saying no thanks or later or something. So that mobile web doesn't have it, obviously, because you don't have the app if you click on mobile web properly. So don't annoy your customers, that's one thing, and then add value, that's another thing. And to give an example for that news app that you've mentioned, if you guys are reading, what was it, New York Times. Actually, New York Times on mobile web is way better, or at least as good as New York Times on an app. There's no reason to waste your, storage, space, whatever on your home screen, on your mobile device. Just go to the mobile device, you go to mobile web, and just read your article, the whole article. So again, maybe they're making mistakes, those two companies, maybe not, maybe it's intentional, but value is key, and don't annoy your users. Like the tons of notifications I'm getting whenever I'm downloading any app, right? Then you start sending me the notification. That for me, that's a tiebreaker. Am I going to download that app for like food ordering, or am I just going to use my browser? Because I know I'm going to get those notifications then.
Or value. Yeah.
There was a discussion before about the client traffic on desktop and handheld, desktop versus mobile. You know tracking stats on that, not only traffic, but also in terms of business done. And then the same thing, app traffic versus mobile web traffic. You know who's got good stats on that?
Yeah, actually, I touched base on that for UK. So yeah, on the first half now.
So next time you bring the pizza.
But yes, there is.
Well, on time, bring the pizza on time.
I mean, yes, it's kind of hard to know exactly what user agent you're referring to user agent. That's the way that you can recognize the fact what kind of browser is hitting you. Is it mobile one or not? What model is it? What kind of media types you can serve and all. There is certain types of user agents that tell you a bunch of things. There's certain types of services that will allow you just from the user agent, just from that header, to know much more things than what you see, and it will enable you to parse it and so on and so forth because it's so classified. So all in all, mobile web and desktops are now back to back as good as if using Google Analytics. You shouldn't have any problem. You might even end up with learning tons of new information about your users if they're using a mobile device rather than if they're just stationary.
You see Google Analytics?
Just an example, right? You were talking about tracking, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like #1 tracking software.
So wait, we had a question from Margaret. I was just gonna run through the poll. We did it, so at least we should look at the
I have
answers.
a question on this slide here. You needed a fourth choice called bad responsive. Okay, only because that's a lot of people do it.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Oh yeah, there is a website where people add bad examples of responsive. So, but I think it's very interesting because it actually backs what Ayala said, that responsive is a prerequisite, and then you have to think whether you're doing it the right way or the wrong way, or how you're helping it, because responsive could be very damaging. I fully agree with that. And then another interesting data, guys, you're so surprising, that full native app is still strong, but the hybrid app are really taking on. So it seems like the advantages of hybrid as opposed to native are pretty much clear. And I know that we do have some, take pictures, fun. We do have some developers here, so I think this is a nice statistic that we're going to see growing more and more. And I think that also, as Ayala said, for many of us, or maybe we're a little bit more sophisticated users, so we would recognize it. But for a lot of users, they don't even know that they're not using a native app, that they're using hybrid. So even if they're being asked, do you prefer to have a native or hybrid, they just might say native, not even knowing that, I don't know, like 60% or 70% of what they're using is actually hybrid. So that's a really nice, interesting stuff. So thanks to everyone for participating in that call. Art.
There's a question being made. So since you have a mobile web and an app, do you have any user experience metrics that you can share? Do repeat visits typically go to the app, where occasional go to the web, or anything around that you can share? Like the one-time user goes to the web and somebody uses it every day with an app or anything like that.
Yeah, there's actually, I have lots of information about that.
5 minutes.
Funnily enough, so let's talk about that afterwards. But about most of the details.
Still more pizzas.
Just funnily enough, one of those innovations that you mentioned before, what has exactly to do with re-engagement. That's what you were referring to, right? Re-engagement. Someone's already on eBay, maybe you already bought something, maybe you already visited the site, now you want to re-engage. We have metrics that's called, what was it called a year ago? Twice a week, so we want people to visit us more than just once a week, for instance. And we want to see people engaging on different kind of screens. And specifically, there's even a patent that has to do with the stuff I did 3 years ago to do re-engagement. And QRs, by the way, this poll have QR. That's a great example of how people don't need to input that short URL.
People are not using it anymore. I actually thought about having it, and I was like, I don't even have a QR application in my phone.
QR also, anyway, you probably do, you just don't know.
Yeah, perfect. But
Even
nothing.
eBay has a QR reader on its app. That's fine. So you can have eBay.
I don't. I'm a mobile web. I'm a fully mobile web user.
Any retail, almost any kind of retail app you might have. So,
It's underutilized, I would say.
yeah.
It didn't actually succeed as it should have.
In the United States, it's much lower.
It's much lower, yes, but outside it is. I think the Chinese, Korean markets are super, like, having users. Yeah, and actually QR has evolved tremendously, tremendously, and there's 2 major companies involved there. They're now so visual, you can barely see the dots.
Yeah.
It's like a picture, and you scan it, and you see what you have to do there. And they can even get security in there, and there's a bunch of stuff. So even it used to do 2 years ago, we took the bottom part of the label, speaking specifically about re-engagement. And every user who printed the label for eBay, by the way, they have a discount if they did that. I'm not trying to sell it, just saying. So on the bottom part, we have written FedEx or USPS, whatever, and PT Bose, if you guys know who they are, some kind of a medium company they have to go through. To have some kind of a short URL in the QR, super small, but still quality, high quality enough that you can scan. And then since we know what you bought, obviously, because you just printed it, and you know who you're sending it from to and everything, we probably know what's going to be the next best thing for you to buy. Or we can just offer you some discounts. So we did that. One of the leading people actually got that. Just some kind of a video to see. And we found out that about 20% of the people who got this package scanned it, which is a staggering amount of people, especially for the US market. It's not that the US market was the only market that those labels and packages reached, right? It's worldwide. eBay, most of eBay's business, as I said before, like 50% coming from out of country. So yeah, re-engagement was staggering. It doesn't mean that everyone bought. I guess I should disclose the numbers I want. So I'm just saying, yes, we started re-engagement. There's a bunch of other ways that we're experimenting to re-engage people back to eBay and offering them discounts, promotions, or just relevant stuff. People who about this, also about that. Those kind of things. By the way, that team also sits in two teams on page function. So yes, we're deeply thinking about those things. Me specifically, I guess, I don't know why. Maybe because of the engagement, but actually that happened before the experience. Yeah, good question.
Oh, yeah.
That's-
One question. Yeah,
So I have a question from the perspective of a vendor. So I represent a company that has developed an app that is a utility app for other large companies that helps them recruit people. So what would you recommend, and this is a strategy question, what would you recommend as a go-to-market strategy for targeting companies and then getting on the map? What would they be looking for in an app that would make it easier to use, or which they would find attractive, or things of that nature?
You say recruiting?
No, well, so the app is for recruiting. It's a recruiting utility app. So I represent a company that sells this app to other companies, and then their HR department uses it to seek out candidates, basically.
So this is fish candidates?
Yeah.
I'll tell you something that I think it's important from two perspectives of even if you do mobile web or mobile app. If you do mobile web and your client likes what you do, there's a trend in marketing, like don't change your client, don't force them. If you force and they're happy, don't change that. If you do, and I'll answer your question, if you do mobile web and you go to mobile app, you gotta make sure that this is a good app. Because if it's not, they probably will not go back to your mobile web as well. So you may lose your client if you don't do it right. This is one thing. For your question, if you have mobile app, this is a great start because discovery becomes much easier for your client to find you. It's much easier. Now you got to find a way to promote it through the app store. And that's one of the things that we do as part of the strategy. How do you leverage your mobile application and integrate that to social networking? And if you take that approach as part of the strategy is use case, right? Objection. With platform to use, and how do you integrate that to social network to expose what you already have? Which in mobile application today, it's easier than mobile web. So I think if you take your mobile application, think social, how do you integrate that into your specific use cases? You get much more benefit from the mobile application. It's going to be easier to reach to your clients. Okay.
Thank you. So I'll have to stop here because it is really getting late and some people are already.
I usually go to sleep at like 8:30.
Disappearing. Your kids are still up. And I want to give everyone some time to pop again and get some pizza, something to drink. Thank you very much all for coming. I think it was a very interesting discussion. I learned some new stuff as well. I think the battle hasn't yet ended, so we're probably going to see more of that coming in the next year. Our next meetup is going to be about planning our 2017 mobile strategy. So I guess we will be talking again about those issues of mobile web or mobile app and where it takes us. It's going to be sometime around November. Yep.
Probably the first week of November.
Probably the first week of November. So, but again, I'm going to use that wonderful spamming email option on the Meetup platform.
And we're gonna notify you all on our next meetup event that's it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And it's gonna be 50 degrees, not like.
Yeah, we'll promote the date over the next week or so, and then we'll post the date and then more details.
Cool. So, big applause to our panelists. And thank you all for coming.
I just wanted to thank you for answering the question. I appreciate it. And thank you for speaking.
Yeah.
So people did is they developed an very smart.